learn them, or I hear them enough, and they get into my psyche, and then I distort the hell out of them.
You hear this Pat Metheny signature lick. How did Michael Brecker come from the Pat Metheny lick into his own version of the lick? I often wonder how Michael Brecker developed his own style of music.
And then I distort the hell out of them.
And what does it mean to distort the hell out of a lick? The answer is really simple. Michael Brecker's curious and meticulous way of looking at and perceiving music is the answer. Then lots of more questions pops into my mind when I'm starting to think about this. Let's look into this right now. Once again, I take a deep dive into the Michael Brecker Practice book. This is an awesome inspiration. When you look into this book, you get a small glimpse of the amazing overview Michael Brecker had over chords and scales. Generally, how music works together. Another thing, among others, Michael Brecker excelled in was analyzing other people's music, and then he put it into his own context. Let's do what he did.
Distort the hell out of them.
So what I said before, what did Michael Brecker actually mean by steal it, put it into your playing and distort the hell out of it? All over the Michael Brecker Practice book, he has small licks and names put over it. These are some of the licks Michael Brecker stole and practiced, so what he actually got inspired from. Listening to this line on Sonny Rollins, what you see Michael Brecker do is taking a small part of this lick and using it in his own practice and his own playing. Like this small bebop approach to the B, or the small chromatic approach to the G or to the B flat. In the book you see how he utilized these things after he discovered them. So what it says here in the Michael Brecker book, he would take small licks and put them all over the horn, in all scales, in all keys. So I've taken some of the licks from the Michael Brecker book and tried making them into exercises, like 7th chords up the scale, first inversion triads up the scale, and the dim chord with the chromatic approach note in front of it. I would think that Michael Brecker have practiced something like this or when he was noting in the book. So Michael Brecker would probably have looked at this small bebop pattern and then practiced the hell out of it. And he would play it all over the horn to really get it into his fingers. And then he would probably have started using it in small licks like here, where he's both playing bebop on the G7 and on that E flat minor 7. Of course Michael Brecker is going all tritone on that A flat 7, going into G7, going into C7. We'll get into chord substitution in just a bit. But actually in this little Michael Brecker lick from before, you see that he's using the original Sonny Rollins lick suddenly. But again, you see that he's using a different rhythm to it. So if you want to practice this, take this idea and make it into your own licks. I'm using the D flat 7 going into that C, the tritone substituted dominant. In the lesson manual PDF on Patreon, I have of course made lots of exercise and lots of example licks that you can use directly into your playing. The lesson manual download link is in the description. So what it says on this page, do not always write everything out. Play it in your head. Sometimes I like the written out version, but after that I have read it a couple of times, I learn it by heart. In the book you would sometimes see exercises like this and then a stripe, learn this by heart. So if you take an exercise like this, I'm only playing the first bar. Try doing it by heart after a couple of bars, or play the exercise a couple of times and then learn it by heart. In the lesson manual PDF on Patreon, I have written out the full exercise in all 12 keys, that you can get a good start and clear start on how you can play the first line and then see if you're correct moving it around in your head. These chromatic passing tones are of course not made up by Brecker, but he would explore any angle of the chromatic passing tones. He would probably rethink the idea and move it a step further. In this lick you see how he's using the chromatic passing tone between the 9th and the root. So he's really thinking all these lines into his playing. So when Michael Brecker was working with an idea, he added it into his playing in all aspects. Let's check this out. According to his practice book, he was always busy in all 12 keys. And remember that in the lesson manual PDF on Patreon, everything is in 12 keys that you can get going into the Michael Brecker 12 key system. The lesson manual download link is in the description. So take a small lick here. This is a G minor C7 and try play it in other keys. Because basically you want to be limitless in all 12 keys. Everything can be moved into any key you like. Take a simple progression. This is G minor C7. Chromatic approach note to the upper structure of the G minor playing down that C7 chord. When you have written this out a couple of times, it's relatively easy to do because you're going to the 7th of the G minor chord and you're starting on the 3rd of the dominant chord, so the C7. The more you get used to moving things around in 12 keys, the longer lines you can also play in the 12 keys. Which also means you can utilize these sounds in your playing, so moving a lick into another key and using the tritone substituted dominant, for example. So what you see here is that I'm playing the dominant a half step up from the tonic I'm going into, the tritone substituted dominant, the F sharp instead of the C7. I strongly believe what made Michael Brecker such a fluent player in all 12 keys was the way he was perceiving the theory behind it. He was not only looking at music as diatonic steps, he was really looking at the movement of the music. Michael Brecker would see the G7, the dominant in the key, as equal as the D flat 7, the tritone substituted dominant in the key. The only difference was different sounds. So these two lines would be the same progression for him, but he would add different sounds to it, still resolving into the tonic, the F major chord. So let's take an example of what he does here with the F major chord and the D minor chord. He's saying that the F major 6 and the D minor 7 has the same chord tones. So those chords are interchangeable. When you're playing Cherokee and you're going into the 5th bar, the F major 7, you can play D minor. This sounds kind of funny, but think about it. When you have a D minor, you can even play a D minor G7 because you can put a D minor in front of any dominant chord. This means you can put a dominant chord in front of any minor chord. So he could play a lick like this because he's playing F major, so he would play D minor G7 maybe. So Michael Brecker would see all these opportunities in interchanging minor chords and add dominant chords. So this is a normal 2-5-1 lick. So in the Michael Brecker practice book, he's freely interchanging that A flat with the G7 and then going into C major. So if we should do this, we can freely interchange the C7 with the F sharp 7. Like this. But also add a G minor chord in front of it, so G minor, F sharp 7, F major 7. But also freely add minor chords in front of these dominant chords. So now playing G minor, C sharp minor, F sharp 7, F major 7. Let's make it a little bit more crazy. G minor 7, D flat 7, C7, F sharp 7, F major 7. Because you can. So the D flat is the tritone to the C7, the F sharp is the tritone to the F major 7. So you see where this is going. Now I'm actually playing a dominant in front of the G minor chord. D7, G minor, C7, F sharp 7, F major. There are unlimited possibilities in this system, and this gives you beautiful advanced lines. The lesson manual PDF on Patreon is filled up with exercises, with licks and lines, short and long, that you can take around in all 12 keys, that you get used to use these progressions. And of course, like Michael Brecker, I would recommend you to learn it all by heart, but everything is written out in all 12 keys to give you a chance to step into this system. Get the lesson manual PDF on Patreon, the download link is right here. If you're interested in more amazing outside playing, Michael Brecker and Coltrane is here for you. In this video I have dug into their playing, how they are playing outside. Play music, have fun.